All right, here we are. Wait. Hey, if anybody's out there who actually, I guess we're live now. All right, 15 minutes of technical insanity, but it looks like we're here ready for Film Trooper presents Film Marketing Fridays. Take, I don't know, what do we take 7 on this one? Okay, go. So I'm here. Wait. So I see I got to go here to screen share, which is hilarious. Okay, so you see me. So the world sees me now. What an epic fail.
All part of the experience, man.
Oh, good. Okay, so there you go. So I need to do something with Google, uh, the control room. Let's see, wait. I'm supposed to have control of, if I select you. Okay, so yeah, when you talk. Now say something.
Hello, hello.
Okay, good. So,
You hear
all
me?
right. Hey, everybody. My name is Scott McMahon. I'm a fellow film trooper, and I apologize for anybody who's been routed from one link to another link to another link because apparently when I set up the event, it didn't properly set up the Hangout on the air part of it. There's so many different versions of Hangout, and I think we had a regular video Hangout, and it wasn't set up for a Hangout broadcast of the air. So we finally got that going, and then I wanted to make sure that I activated the Q&A, which I don't understand. I thought we had that set up. All right, so listen, we can't do the Q&A, but see your comments if you say something. So say something.
Say something. I am saying something right now.
You say something. I'm actually typing something. So I'll be able to read your comments in there. So if anybody needs to say write something in the comments, I'll read it. Anyhow, so we're live. Let's just get on with it. How do you pronounce your name, Bojan?
It's Bojan. Bojan Dulabic.
Dulabic.
Yep.
Bojan Dulabic.
Not the easiest. I'm fully aware. Don't worry.
Well, it's funny because I have to pronounce it the way you pronounce it, so I give you like a bastardized version of your own name. So it's like Bolyan Dublik.
I've heard worse. I've heard worse. You're doing very well.
All right, good. So, the idea behind Film Trooper is to try to help filmmakers become entrepreneurs, and when I really want to emphasize the word help, it's not necessarily I have any and all answers, but in the past few years, I've been trying to apply basic business online strategies and online marketing strategies and see how it can be bridged with independent film. So the concept of this Film Marketing Fridays is sort of just get into helping others at least maybe think differently about their particular film project or help answer any questions if I can. So you shot me some questions yesterday. So why don't you go ahead and ask sort of the first one?
Sure. Yeah. So there's so many groups out there and communities, related to filmmaking and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes it just gets very overwhelming in terms of what community should you join and interact with and all that. Obviously, it's difficult to join all of them, so I was just kind of wondering, how do you go about that? How do you choose? And what are your thoughts about that? And do you just go with the group that has the largest following, or you know what I mean? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Before we get started, before we talk about which groups to join and stuff like that, I should probably show off. Let's see if this feature works with the Google Hangout toolbox here. They have a thing called YouTube plugin. I should probably show everybody your movie, and I don't know if it's going to play like stuttery or not, but I'm just going to try to use this plugin they have here. So let's take a look at your trailer for your movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see here. Do people even see this? um, Sorry, the delay. Here we go, desktop. I'm going to do this. Well, there we go. So we get. How cool, how cool. So I'm going to shoot this over to you so they have your face. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, my friend. It's been a long process.
Yeah, you know what? And I had seen the movie, and I was really, surprised in how, I was laughing at some out loud on a couple of parts, and it definitely reminds me of like Chasing Amy, Waiting, if you're into those type of comedies. And the guy who plays Jason, I have to commend him because it's that was a fine line of that particular character, where either you're gonna just like hate him because or just not or be disgusted by him, but he brought a lot of heart to that character as he progressed through the story, which was very, very cool.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that was one of those difficult things that I set out to find, right? When I did the casting and all that, because you know the way it was written, there was a lot of moments where it could have just gone way just wrong, just and I think they both, all the actors, but specifically the two lead ones, I think they all pulled it off, and it's very, um, you know, I think it's very memorable, and yeah, there's raunchy parts in terms of language and just sex talk and all that kind of stuff, but I think there's a lot of heart to it that they were able to bring, and I think it's a nice combo. But I might be biased, so.
Well, you should be proud of it, So that's your film, and now the concept is like, okay, I've got this thing. Now, how do I promote it? And sort of what everything that the online marketing experts tell us is that you should be building your audience like 18 months out before you even make your film, either or at least 6 months out of releasing your film. And I have to attest that my own film, I didn't do that, just because simply I didn't think I could actually make the film. So you're not bothering people to like, hey, I'm making this thing. So, but when you're done with it, what happens if you're in a situation where you made it and you haven't built an audience yet, and so you're looking for ways to promote it. And so your question is, again, of all the different communities out there, all the different like Facebook groups, all the different Google Plus, G Plus communities, the Twitter hashtag. Sometimes actually have there's some Twitter groups, I forget what they call them. I haven't not yet participated in sort of any of the like live chat that are associated with some sort of hashtag event or something yet. But everybody has some sort of live component or interactive component around some sort of topic or subject that people can gather around that have a shared interest. But I'm going to switch over. Now we get to see if this works in the PowerPoint presentation. All right, so you should be able to see this. Okay, so you see that, right?
Yep, I see the logo.
Okay. All right, so I think before we even think about like what community or what group you want to do, we probably need to answer or ask the question, what is your goal? Like, and my feeling is, in order to join like a community or a group or anything like that, your goal is to sort of earn yourself, and it's really important to say that word earn. Like, we're out here trying to earn 1,000 true fans, and that's based off that famous blog post by the one of the what's his name? Kelly, last name Kelly, that from Wired magazine. And the concept is like all these independent artists, if they can earn 1,000 true fans, and those 1,000 true fans each gave $100 to the artist a year, and that's $100,000 that an artist, a filmmaker, a musician, whatever can live off of. So if we use that as a metric of that's what we're shooting for, so if that's our goal, another thing is what we have to ask ourselves, what value are we providing to these 1,000 true fans? And that's one of the other things about online entrepreneurs and marketers they talk about a lot is like, you have to provide something. You have to provide something of value to your customer base or your audience or whatnot. And so that's what makes independent film somewhat difficult at times, because it's not just a very clear value. It's not like an ongoing sort of like self-help book or somebody joining to lose weight or a fitness program, So we've got to think about how we can turn our independent film to be valuable to these 1,000 true fans. So then Jason Brubaker over at filmmakingstuff.com, and who's worked in the digital distribution field and business and industry for the last 10 years. He has this saying that, you know, you are not in the film business, and he has to really reiterate that. And I think every talk that he gives, he makes sure that the audience repeats after him, which is, your audience is your business. You have your audience have no business. So we're no longer in the business of filmmaking. We are in the business of audience, of basically providing value to an audience. That's what the main goals are. Yes, we can always follow up and say, hey, it's not about you, it's not about us, it's going to be about our fans. And the question is, yeah, so in the end of the day, we will become servants to our fans. You know, we will become fans. So, with that said, how do we earn our fans? You know, I guess that's the next question. So, all this ties into your first question about what group or community that you need to go to. So, let's also talk about what marketing is. In the old days, or let's say old days, but like old television advertising or print advertising. Advertising is sort of, it's a very interruptive process. So like when we watch that's why we got sick of commercials, because they were always interrupting our need to watch like a show, and then became the VCR and the DVR, and so we were able to have control, so not being interrupted. And then on the we get all these pop-up ads, and it's driving us nuts, or you know, whatever it is. In your magazines, you get all these out of your magazines, you know, subscribe here, scripts now, all this advertising basically bombarding us, being interruptive. And so now is really asking permission. So we have to, and that's sort of the difference. So we're no longer being interrupted. You know, we have to ask permission. And so marketing really is nothing evil about it. It's just methods of communication. So as long as we understand that our main goal is to find our 1,000 true fans, and we have to be of service to those fans, and we utilize marketing through social media to ask permissions, and we're figuring out ways to communicate with our fans in the best possible methods. So as long as we understand that's what that is. So you know what was Facebook? Facebook was, when it first started, was the ultimate party. You know, that's all that Zuckerberg wanted to do, was like, hey, Facebook could be the ultimate party. So marketing could become the ultimate party. If you have methods of communicating to your true fans, as long as you approach it like, hey man, I'm bringing to the table the ultimate party. And so instead of thinking about like what groups or communities to attend or to join up with, let's think of it, maybe we could think of it as parties. So like, hey, what parties do you want to attend, you know? So one of the things we could do is stop hanging out at other filmmaking parties. So the concept there is like, filmmaking is so broad, right? And people's tastes in film are so broad. It's not like we go to, you know, like if we go to a music festival, sometimes it's geared to like a specific type of music, like a country music festival, a blues or a jazz festival. You know, yes, film festivals kind of bring everything together, but even now there are very specific film festivals that target to the sci-fi fans or horror fans, the more, you know, maybe it's all regional or something like that. So it's hard to advertise our films at a filmmaking party, because I don't know if you've ever been to a Hollywood party or not, but those who have attended a Hollywood party, you know what happens is everybody very quickly is there to go, what do you do? How can you help me? You know, kind of thing like that. Like everybody is there to suck off each other and to, you know, work their way up through the party to figure out who they need to be hanging out with. And if you go there and you show like absolutely no interest in the business, the Hollywood, you know, the industry, you'd be surprised the reactions you get. People be like, oh, you're just like you're a school teacher? Oh, that's weird. Okay, so they'll just move on, or they'll stop and be fascinated by like a regular human being. So the concept is, for our online world of not, you don't have to engage so much in other filmmaking communities or groups. unless your film provides a how-to value. And so you've already kind of created that with some of your blog posts, like, hey, this is how you do, sound effects, or this is how you do small visual effects. These how-to things are beneficial to that community, and you've done a good job of just showing people, like, this is how you do something, and then you tie your film into it, and that's how you sort of inadvertently, advertise your film. But if we really want to build up your fan base, I think your fan base, you have to make that decision of who's that going to be. And if you talk to like Jason Brubaker, he says, filmmakers are not necessarily your audience. You don't want to make a film and then advertise it to other filmmakers, because at film festivals, what's the first thing that happens at a film festival, a Q&A session? The first thing out of somebody's mouth is, what did you shoot it on and how much did it cost? Because other filmmakers are at the festival, they don't care about your film per se or what your film had to say. They were interested in how you made it. So that's why I'm saying, unless your film provides enough how-to value, there's not a lot of sense in trying to promote your film to other filmmakers at a filmmaking party. So so what does this ideal fan look like? So let's build one, okay? So let's build your ultimate fan for your particular your movie. Since we've already identified that it's in the same vein of the movie Waiting, the same vein as Chasing Amy, some of these more like heartfelt, raunchy comedies,
Mm-hmm.
We should ask ourselves, who do you think will want your film? So that's the hardest part, because it can't just be everybody. And oh, what happened here? Where's my oh, never mind. I think it's the next slide over. But anyway, so let's build this ultimate fan here.
Mm-hmm.
So for you specifically, who do you think is like your ultimate fan? If you can get like, are they how old are they?
Oh, they're age-wise, they're definitely younger. I mean, I'd say anywhere between 16 to probably 35. I don't think older than that.
Okay, that sounds right, because men don't mature that much after 35. I can attest. So you're looking at the prize demographic of most advertisers, which is like the 18 to 35 bracket of males.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm assuming they're men.
Predominantly, yeah.
Okay, so then we have identified they're men. Okay. Here's a weird one. What country do they come from?
Well, that's an interesting one, because my movie, does deal a little bit with, as you know, I am, originally from Eastern Europe, so it does deal a little bit with that. But I still think it's probably predominantly North American. Although I think the story is universal, that really a lot of people can identify with it. So, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's still North American,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be universal. But if we make it more specific to just North American, that way you can focus your attention on that fan. Then you want to ask, like, obviously, what city do they live in? Like, is this, if you say like every city, then you're like, okay, possibly. But if you want to narrow it down, your advertising, so, or like your maybe like you say, you live in Vancouver, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so then you maybe say, like, let me start with the fan base here in Vancouver. So then you've identified, like, I'm looking for guys who are like 18 to 35 that are men that live in Vancouver, So let's just start there. It's like, okay. And then you can ask this question, like, how much do they make? This is the whole census checklist.
Mm-hmm.
So, is this a guy that has like a part-time job or full-time job at like an automobile, like a servicing cars or something,
Yeah, actually in this case that's pretty much, yeah, the group, I guess. It would be people who definitely, they're not really happy with their jobs. They're not, they're not, struggling or anything, but it's not really, it's your average, working class, which I'm part of, which most of us are part of.
Okay, so then you got like working classing. So the cool thing is, like, if you build like what groups to go into, maybe there's a hangout spot where like this specific fan like hangs out at. And then what you do is you build sort of your marketing materials to um, appease like some of these things that they're interested in, but then you slide in your film, So again, like what is their socioeconomic background? You kind of, as we build who this fan is, and this is a big one, like what movies, music, video games, and books do they like? Here's a thing I was thinking of, again, like harking back to Jason Brubaker, but he had a podcast interview with these guys who made this film that was loosely based. The star of their film was that they got the licenses to highlight the next Lord of the Rings film. So he had the geek culture of these guys making a film about sort of playing this game, but it was all revolved around this game. So they didn't have like a main star, but their star was the video game. They got the license to use it, and then what they did is they piggybacked all their marketing and advertising to within that specific video game. So something like, can you imagine if your movie had that opportunity where it was tied to some, I don't know what game, like like Call of Duty or something. We'll just say that. Like, say you were able to do that, then all the fans of that game, you can start, creating marketing materials and communicating through them through that avenue. So here we are, like your ultimate fan would be like, well, what movies do they like, and what music do they like? So if they like a certain type of music, then you can maybe find those types of groups or those types of communities, and then start talking about that in a sense, or like maybe the musician you worked with that did the composition for your movie, sort of highlighting the music first, or just like different ways of doing music, or musicians might want to know more about like how they make, like the latest blog post you put out about sync tracks and making music for a film, that could be geared to sort of other musicians in that, again, that age range, and then you sort of like slide in your movie. You know what I'm saying? So again, we're building what our ultimate fan looks like and different ways that we could approach to market to them. And then there's other things like who are their friends, like who are the type of people they like to hang out with is a question you need to you'll need to answer. And then what are their values, Are they religious? Are they not religious? Are they, are they conservative? Are they liberal? All those types of things. It's like, because if you can figure out, like, I think, a conservative base might really, like this, or a liberal base might really like this, and then you can start looking for different groups and communities with that in mind, and then you can branch out to like try to hit those topics that fit their values, and then slide in your film.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. Here's a big one. What do they like to spend their money on? So this is like you're really building out like your ultimate fan. Like, oh gosh, are they spending all their money in video games, or do they pirate music? I don't know. It's like, do they read books at all? Does your audience read books? Like your ideal fan, do they? And like if they like movies, what kind of crazy movies do they like, and how can you and that they're willing to spend money on? And then what does their daily routine look like? If they have to get up at the crack of dawn to like be on a train or in a car or in a bus commute, to get to their job, and what do they have to do at their working class job, to earn the money that they're going to spend spend their entertainment on, and what friends are they hanging out with? So you begin to see a much deeper, detailed picture of what your fan is looking like. And then this is crazy, like, but what do they never leave the house without bringing with them? So is it a phone? Is that the only thing they bring with them, or who knows? Or if they're religious, are they bringing like a cross with them? All these things that you got to kind of build out of who you think your ultimate fan is. And then here's the thing: what keeps them up at night? Like you said, I think your film kind of touches on that. Like, man, there's got to be more than life than just partying or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
There's deeper themes going throughout your movie there. So if you can identify for what keeps them up at night, what their fears are, then if you are in these communities, again, these are communities outside of filmmaking. They're not filmmaking communities. These are communities that or groups on Facebook that are that you've identified your ideal fan having this type of values, their type of friends, the money they would what they will spend their money on, and then if you can sort of psychologically tap into what they fear and what keeps them up at night, then you could possibly, you know, help them answer what they aspire to become. So if they aspire to become or do something different or have a better relationship or have a deeper relationship with women or whatever it might be, then you can at least start angling your marketing materials to answer these things. And again, and if you can figure out a way to position your movie as a possible sort of solution to these things that they might be have questions about. But if you can build your ultimate fan, let's see where we're at right here. So there you go. So that's the biggest question. So with all the stuff that you build this checklist off of, you have to ask yourself, like, well, how does my film serve this ideal ultimate fan? And that's really the biggest question that all of us as filmmakers have to figure out almost before we start, making a film. And it's much easier if it's like a documentary because it's sort of very, cause related. It's harder when you're like a genre, like a comedy genre, horror genre, sci-fi genre, But you can still answer these questions. You just have to get real clever, or not clever, you just have to be really targeted in your marketing materials to make sure you're addressing this ideal fan. Because if you can focus on the ideal fan, so let's see what I have here. What's my next thing? Oh yeah. Because in the end of the day, this quote, I don't know the secret to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody, and that's from Bill Cosby.
That is so true.
Yeah, so you can see like why we would want to build the ultimate fan, like who, and why it's important. But you can see, I think, how marketers kind of figure out how they can creatively build their marketing materials to address some of the needs or some of the concerns their ideal fan has or ideal customer base has, and then you have to just position your film as possibly a solution to that or an escape. If they want an escape, but what do they want to escape to? That type of a thing. Let's see here. What else we got? So the bottom line is like, so now what parties do you attend? So now that we had to go back to the beginning so that we broke it down to like understanding what our goals are, understanding what marketing is all about. It's about communication, methods of communication. We understand who our ideal fan is, or we are beginning to, and then we know that we can't please everybody, so we're not going to try to. Now the question is to answer your question about which communities, which groups, online, where do I spend my time on? Well, if you have your ideal fan set up, you'll know. You have a better idea what parties you should be attending instead of filmmaking parties. And the thing I remember about the book Freakonomics is the whole thing I took away from Freakonomics is incentives. Every human being is emotionally makes choices based off incentive. So if you can understand, like, what is the incentive of this ideal fan, what would make them want to buy my film or watch my film? So, as long as you understand that everybody's motives are all based off incentives. So if you look at politics or anything like that, you could always root it back to like, well, what's the incentive for this politician to do this, this, and that? Or what's the incentive for this company or corporation to help do this, this, and that? Or what's the incentive of this customer to do this? So that was one thing great about that book is just understanding the psychology of incentives. So knowing that, if you're looking at a social media platform to hang out on, Facebook is still king, but things have changed with Facebook, and it's harder to build an organic search or organic reach, on your platform. So a lot of it, you've got to start paying to play. Like if you're going to have any impact as a marketer or marketing your items or building a fan base on Facebook, the rules have changed quite a bit, and their infrastructure is very interesting. It's still the king because like a lot of people that's where they spend their time on is Facebook, and I just feel like I'm a little late in the game because I haven't had an opportunity to build anything organically. So Twitter just became public, right? So now they got their incentive. So what I'm getting back at is now that Facebook is part of the public offering, they have stockholders their incentive is to make money to keep their stockholders happy. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
now their incentives have changed. So now Twitter's incentives have changed as well, because they still they have to answer to stockholders, and then I don't know exactly how their ads will start working within the Twitter stream. But when you look at Google has other revenue streams. They've got their general search, AdSense, they've got the Android, they've got all these other their hands in other, I don't know what's the term, but they have a lot of opportunity for other revenue streams. So that's why they're trying to keep Google Plus as a social media platform free away. They don't have to offer it up to public offering. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
those are the types of things. Understand where the incentive plays of what groups you're going to and communities you're going to search out for on a social media. Um, so you've always, I don't know if you heard the saying before, but you're trying to do 20% of the work to give you 80% of the results, right?
Hmm.
And knowing that a lot of people are already on Facebook, if you can afford like Facebook ads and you're going to choose to play in that world, that's a whole other topic. But if you can focus your efforts on your ideal fan, whoever you come up with, and what communities and groups that they hang out with, then you're setting yourself up to at least do 20% of the work to see 80% of the results. As you can see with like filmmaking communities and filmmaking groups, it's almost difficult because everybody in those groups are used to people pitching them their ideas, where all they want to do is pretty much pitch their own ideas.
Hmm.
And if you go to a different community, a different group, they may be more receptive and open as long as you can identify who your ideal fan is and create your marketing materials to communicate with them. Again, marketing. Marketing equals a method of communication. Like you have to have a conversation with them. So this will help create that 20% work will give you 80% of the results. I'm going to switch over to me. Let's see if this works. Does this work? No, it does. Hold on, I got to do the screen share again. There we go. So you see me. So those. Okay, there we go. Let's see, control room. Did I do that? All right. So you can see that's some stuff to think about to answer your question. Like, well, what groups do you belong to? Like, I've kind of, not say run my course, but I've seen the results I get out of interacting with filmmaking communities and filmmaking groups on Facebook, and again, they call it communities on Google Plus, and a little bit of hashtags going on with Twitter for my film, and I have a marketing angle for it that I push, which is here's a film that was made for $500 with no crew. But it's I would say in order to expand my reach, I realize it has sort of this Buddhist theme to it, and so now I've started to create marketing materials, and I have to do this long tail legwork to reach out to people that might be interested in sort of films with a Buddhist theme. Not that it's like fully Buddhist theme, but people that are interested in the Buddhist principles may get a kick out of my film. They may not. I don't know.
Well,
I
it's
have to.
definitely. I mean, I've seen it, right, and it's I definitely I can see what you're talking about. There's definitely that angle in there, and yeah, it's funny. I know exactly what you mean because my one of my angles is I shot this movie in my own living room, right, which is great, but that really only works for filmmakers. The average person is probably gonna go, okay, I don't care. So I definitely know what you mean. It's like finding that little bit that connects with your perfect film fan, right? Um,
Yeah, and let me ask you, who your background is? What part of you got to help me out here. Like, what part of the country you're from, and then some of your friends that are in the movie, or the actors that are in the movie, do they have some sort of ethnic background that could be tapped into, that you can market to, that you can kind of come up with some interesting angle there?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm originally from, was born in what back then was Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia. It was, Bosnia. Now it's Bosnia after the war in '91, which is Eastern Europe, right? Yeah, very close to Italy in that area. So I lived in Germany for 7 years while the war was on. Then I moved to Croatia, and then I moved to Canada in 2001. So a lot of moving around and all that. And yeah, so then in 2007 I moved here to Vancouver specifically for acting and filmmaking. The cast in my film, actually they're all pretty much just as Canadian as it gets, I guess, or American for the film world. That's another interesting thing that I, as you may have noticed, explore in the movie, which is this relationship between Canadian films and American films. So I find that just very interesting as someone who, I mean, I've been out in Canada for long enough to to be a Canadian, but yet I'm still a little removed from it to be able to kind of look at the world. And yeah, that's another just very interesting thing that I think is changing, which is this perception that you have to make a quote unquote an American movie set in the States, and otherwise no one wants to watch it, right? Which I don't think is true. I think as long as there's a universal story that people connect to, I don't think it matters. I mean, I've seen a lot of really great, especially on Vimeo on demand, some really great movies from South Africa, from Asia, anywhere, right, all over the world, which just seem very interesting to me. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of I'm interested in watching this. So on one hand, I absolutely agree with you. If you can sort of grab a certain group, whether it's ethnic group or whatever group, to promote your movie, if they can connect with it, which is what I am trying with, for example, Eastern Europeans. And the interesting thing about that is on Facebook, I agree with you there as well. It's sadly, you got to pay lately to promote your stuff. The organic search isn't that great anymore. And every time I did that, most of the responses were from Bosnia or Croatia, because that used to be part of Yugoslavia, right? So for obvious reasons. I mean, if they see my name, it's going to be, there's a curiosity right there. So yeah, I think it's this mishmash of that world plus the global village where hey, we're exposed to all kinds of just amazing stories from all around the world. And District 9, for example, when that came out years ago, I mean, that's an amazing movie. And I mean, really, it's a movie about South Africa, about the yes, it's a sci-fi movie, but it really deals with the politics and the social structure and these kinds of things, which I've never been to South Africa. I might go someday, but I don't really know what that's like. But I was like, hey, I love this movie. You know what I mean? It's very
Yeah,
interesting.
there's Bill Cosby's quote, but at the same time, one of the co-creator of Everybody Loves Raymond, the American comedy sitcom that was, I mean, 10 years ago, or it was like #1 for a while, and his name I think is Philip Rosenthal. I probably got that messed up, or Rosenberg or something, where he's a co-creator. He mentioned like the more specific they were able to get with that show, like very specific sort of family problems or family comedy bits, the more universal it becomes. And like you said, what's fascinating about independent film now is I'm getting tastes of all these different communities where these filmmakers are just showing like, hey, they're grabbing their buddy or their local actor, but I'm seeing a diversity and I'm getting a sense of like what that community is like, or that city is like, or that town is like. That you realize that we've only been shown a very small sliver of what Hollywood's been offered to us. Sort of, it's a very heightened version or interpretation of like what Atlanta looks like, or Miami looks like, or Vancouver looks like. So you have something there, and the fact that if you do some of the ads or whatever you do on Facebook, if you're getting any type of feedback, you kind of just run with it in terms of, they always say listen to your audience, because you may start out with what your ideal fan is and you try to reach out to them, but the people giving you feedback may end up, you have to be flexible enough to be like, okay, I can change this image of what the ideal fan is into these people because they are actually responding to it. I never thought they would, but I might be a voice piece for, um, I'm sorry. Where were you?
Croatian or Bosnia.
Yes, Croatian and Bosnia. So I mean, because like you said, that response you got back from them can be very helpful in terms of crafting your marketing message, and because you also have to have a goal, like where you want your film, like how big of reach you want to get. Like I have some realistic expectations with my film, and the reason why it was made for so cheap because it's like I kind of just did it for me. It was mostly just to creatively express myself to see if I could even do it. So and also getting a chance to see like real world numbers of what films are actually earning on the video on demand platform or electronic sell-through sales numbers, and it's eye-opening. That's a film with no stars, a film with no distribution, that is just selling directly is getting, you're lucky to try to get like 1,000 transactions, which garners you anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, and that's what we're talking about. That's what you're earning. Some of the films that have stars and that have distribution aren't making any more than 25 to 50,000, maybe $100,000 on the electronic sell-through video on demand, platform. So that tells you, like, people aren't making like millions of dollars selling their film for 99 cents or $5 or $10, because you need so many transactions. So that, you have to keep that expectation of what is going to be successful for you. So let's get on to your next question. I have it, but do you have it as well?
Yeah, yeah, I got it here. Yeah, so it's just pretty much, how do you balance, work, whether you have a day job or not, and family, and this passion for filmmaking, and yeah, I'd love to get your take on it, because I'm sure it's it can get very overwhelming at times, trying to manage all these things.
Yeah, and I think that's, everybody who gets a chance to listen to this or watch it later on is in that boat of like, how do you do it? How does anybody do it? Of like make this stuff, and why do we make it? And I talked to a friend of mine, like, a year ago, and we were laughing. It's like when you're a filmmaker, you're an artist, you're an author. If you're a creative person of any kind, you're almost cursed. I mean, it is a curse because you just need to be creative. You need to express yourself some way.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no rationale of why we have to do this stuff. I mean, it's not like the world will end if we don't make something, but there's this weird innate, I don't know, irrational, yeah.
I hear you. It's this, with me, sometimes because I'm doing acting and filmmaking, right? And a lot of times I feel I'm like, I love it, and a lot of times it's a blessing, especially for this movie too. The fact that I am an actor, it does help when I direct, right? But then at the same time, pursuing one thing is can be very overwhelming. But doing both, same thing. But I've been for years trying to ask myself that question, or answer the question, what am I? Am I an actor? Am I a director? And I'm like, I'm both, man, because I started doing both roughly around the same time. So I hear ya. It's this. I don't think anyone outside of I don't know if it's necessarily just the arts field, because there's a lot of passionate, scientists who just are so passionate about whatever it is that they do. So I think it's just passionate people in general. There's something just crazy about us. The rules of just general society don't apply to us, and we got to do it. Why? There's this force, absolutely, like you said, there's this drive that just keeps us going, and I've said this many times. My fiance has heard me say that, and my parents and all that, and I was like, the moment I stop doing this is the moment I'm 6 feet under. And then I'll see what the afterlife looks like. but on this level of existence, I got to do it. So I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the scientists as well. Like you're right. There's passion doesn't necessarily mean any sort of rationale whatsoever. So let's take a look. I actually put a little quick PowerPoint or whatever they call it, Google's presentation
Mhm.
slides. So so how do you balance work, life, and passion? Um, well, cash flow is real. Making money is real. There's nothing, to sneeze about. That is a reality. And I remember someone saying to me years ago, there is no shame in supporting your family. So sometimes there's this feeling like, man, I feel like I'm worth more. I can provide more. I can do something more creatively. But sometimes, you just got to take a job. But I think that's the whole thing is there is no shame in supporting your family. And with that, I say simplify. I remember years ago when I was working at PlayStation, there was so many things I was getting myself into. Like I was interested in, you know, producing some more music, and I was not like a great musician or anything, but I just had this interest, or I wanted to get into some other creative thing. So I remember making a conscious decision to sort of simplify things, and simplifying meaning like you start with like your family, you know, and one of the things you give yourself a break. Like, um, if you were to step outside yourself, what kind of advice would you give a person like you? You know what I mean? It's funny how we never take our own advice. So sometimes we just have to kind of give ourselves a break. And with that, I said when I go back to simplifying, is like living life, like your movie. That's part of it. It's the struggles, the enjoying of your friends, your family, and so on. But you do make a conscious decision, like, okay, there's a lot of things I want to get into, but I'm just going to simplify it to I've got my family, friends, and then I've got my work because I have to do that, and then I will make time for wherever I need to do to create my passion, whether that's making the movie or marketing the movie, or selling the movie. Um, if you just kind of maybe simplify it so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And again, you give yourself a break. It's not like, you know, I'm sure you would tell yourself if you can step outside your body to say, just keep going. You're doing a great job, but you don't have to kill yourself. For your small circle, what you're doing, we're all very proud of you. And I think it's you can't control what the world either accepts or doesn't accept you, but you can at least control the little bit of a bubble that you have and simplify it, and then take the steps to to go bigger here and there. Um, I think the biggest thing they teach in like online entrepreneurs is this whole thing of like don't compare yourself to other success. And it's
Uh,
hard because like you're working and you look over like what the hell what's that guy doing or it's like oh man. um, I follow a lot of online entrepreneurs and you see them like just racking the money and they seem like they're living the life, but you hear their story. They had a bunch of failures and they worked at it for a couple years before they had like something break for them, like something actually and they were and but all through all those years of like struggle and trial and error, they were ready to take advantage of the opportunity once it exploded for them.
mhm.
And I like I said, I'm sure you got a chance to listen to the latest podcast that I published with Oren Peli from
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity. There's a lot of things in his success which he's outwardly admitted that gosh, there's some luck that played into it. So we can't compare ourselves to other people's success because that just kills us. And online entrepreneurs talk about two types of people: people that live in a world of abundance and the people that live in the world of scarcity. And I don't know if I put that in here. Did I put that in here? No. But the difference between somebody who lives in a world of abundance is that they see no competition and they see that there's constant opportunity all the time. Somebody who lives in the world of scarcity is jealous of other people's success. They feel like there's only so much limited amount of movies that can be made or films that can be made. And that's just not the way the online entrepreneurial world thinks. And that's a big difference between the online entrepreneurial world and the independent filmmaking world. The independent filmmaking world, unfortunately, a lot of the community is very scarcity mindset. They just feel like, there's too many movies, there's too many things being made. Where an online entrepreneur would be like, what do you mean? It's the world of abundance. Who cares if there's too many movies being made? That's fine. It's all good. And so for us to kind of keep our balance, work, life, and passion, we just got to keep focus. And what that means is, follow one course until success. So, it can feel overwhelming, but if you can simplify it and then just focus on one thing and then accomplish that one thing, and then you move on to the next thing. And I think that's a great thing about filmmaking, and then combining that with online entrepreneurship or online business is that, believe me, you will never get bored ever in your entire life, because you're never asked to do one task over and over. You have so many things to work on that you just won't get bored, and that's what probably makes life really enjoyable and challenging at the same time. So my advice is, yeah, you know what? If you got to make money, if you got to have a job, there's no shame. You got to do it, But then in the process, you can simplify things. You can give yourself a break, and you definitely don't compare yourself to other people's success. And then you just focus on something, and it's follow that one course until success. So let's see here. Oh, here we go. Am I spam? I got to cut back to this thing. Wait, where am I? Sorry. Oh, here we go. Okay, I think I popped back on. I don't know how. I can't figure out a way to make it a smoother transition going from the screen share to our faces. But
well,
anyway,
it might look better once you actually watch it later on. It might be actually smoother, right?
It might be. So let's. You have what's your next question? I think.
Yes, it's related to releasing blog post newsletters. So as you know, I release a bunch of blog posts on my filmmakingtoday.com blog, and so I'm trying to figure out how much I should release, on a weekly basis, on a whatever time frame. I don't want to just overdo it where people will just get tired of me, but at the same time, I don't want to slack off where people will just lose interest and they'll just forget about me from one post to another, right? Yeah, so I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So here's what the experts say, and we'll get into that as I switch over to the screen share.
I'll give you a sound effect when you do it. Maybe
it'll they actually have something here in Google Hangouts. I should probably put that in. It's like these little animation sounds. There's just way too many controls to do. Okay, hold on here. let's set this up. All right, so the big question you want to know is, like, am I a spammer? Like, like how much do I annoy people with my blogs and all that kind of stuff, right? And so here's something the experts say, is that you spend 20% of your time creating the content, so content creation. You're going to spend 80% of your time promoting it, because obviously, like Twitter, like you put out a tweet, you don't know where it ends up in somebody's feed, or their stream. Mm-hmm. They only that tweet might only have like a 5-minute lifespan, so it's okay to repeat it or put another spin on it, or in Facebook the same thing, or I noticed that in Google Plus, the communities, you can post something and they have a little longer life. Like, I remember I put stuff up and like a month later somebody comments on it, so yeah, so it exists someplace, but like Twitter and Facebook is so fleeting, so, but even a general blog post or an article, if you have, when we say promotion, promotion doesn't necessarily have to mean just social media. I'm getting all this information a lot from this guy, Derek Halpern, over at socialtriggers.com, and he's really good. He takes a lot of time studying the psychology of people and how that relates to marketing and sales and so on. And so his strategy is literally, he does 20% of his time he creates blog posts or his content creation, but he spends the majority of his time promoting it. And he does so by, again, even though he might teach sort of online marketing or marketing practices, he will literally like send an email to a spa, like a spa treatment center, and send like an email saying, hey, you know, I went to, I had an amazing time at your spa, whatever it is, and it was such a great time. But I did notice that when I was on your website, that there are some things you can optimize on. You might check this article out, and then he maybe provide a link to that article. Well, the article kicks back to his main site where he gives a general sort of marketing advice to any business. But then he takes, but his approach is that he goes to every business. He goes to like a deli. I went to your deli or whatever it is, and like I ate the best sandwich ever. But I noticed that on your website, it could use some more of these things done. You might want to check out this link. So then they click on the link. It goes to, again, it's not targeted to just somebody who runs a sandwich shop or just somebody who runs a spa. So what I'm saying is, like, if you can go back to your ideal fan and figure out who they are, you can take your content you created and figure out different ways to communicate to them. Again, marketing. You're just communicating. You're trying to help solve a problem, and inadvertently, when they click on it, they will be brought to like the one piece of content that you created that will help solve a problem. But you set up preface for it, or the preface for it. I can't even speak English, but the the setup is you are talking to them specifically to their industry or their needs or their aspirations or their fears, but you have a piece of content that is sort of universal. So that's a strategy that you can use where you feel like maybe you're not being a spammer. Mm-hmm. And in quality over quantity. So you don't have to necessarily feel like I try to put myself like on a 1 week a blog creation, like a blog post, but sometimes I can't get to that, and I give myself a break. I'm like, you know what? I have a lot of stuff that I've created that is still generating a lot of interest, so I continue just doing my 80% promotion of that old content, because I realize the quality is going to matter more than the quantity. And then if you're going to make that blog post or whatever, your videos or whatever you're doing, then make it epic. Just make it so that it has, again, the 20% you put in trying to make that epic content will have 80% of the results. Like, because if you made a bunch of little things that were okay, they're not going to get the return on investment on it as much if you made this one thing that was really great, and then you could spend 80% of your time just marketing it. And the big thing too is everybody just needs a problem solved, whether they know it or not. Like you said, and the problem could be just simply like, my life sucks, I just need a good laugh, or whatever it might be. But if you create your marketing content around that, like, are you can you not just like something like, I can't wait to get to the weekend. The boss is on me. I just need a good drink, good time, or whatever it is. And then if your film offers that solution, then you have to present it that way, that it actually offers some sort of solution to a problem they have. But you just have to create that problem, or you have to identify that problem, and your content needs to basically identify it and then solve it. So we can go back to me. Wait, to my face again. Come on. Wait. Oh, there we go. Hold on. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, thanks.
Hello.
Anyway, so if you know what, I think the biggest thing is not being a spammer. Here's a spammer, and I've done it too, because I was new. I'm new to this still, and I would test things out, and I look back and go, that's kind of spammy, meaning that I show up at some community and I go, whatever, check this trailer out. That's like the worst. Like, check this trailer out, check this film out, help us with our funding. It's like, nothing bad about it. It's just that when you get it so much, it becomes sort of noise. It's not, your project might be great, but if it's one of like 20 that I see a day, in my world, it looks like noise. But if somebody can come to the table with somehow knowing my problem better than I do and presenting something, and then showing my problem and then presenting a solution to it, I'm more apt to talk to that person or follow that link or that help support that crowdfunding campaign.
Oh no, I agree. I'm actually trying not consciously not to use the word check this out, you know, like that phrase, because I'm like I agree. I've done it too, and you know, you look back and you go, okay, people are just gonna hate you. I mean, for me, you know, same here. You know, as you know, I try to release a new blog post once a week, and I usually try to do video, a how-to kind of video, and they usually tie in with something I did on my movie, right? So you know, even there, I mean, I truly try to make it a how-to, right? You know, whether it's color grading, I think was my last one, or you know, any of that stuff. But you know, I'm aware that I think I'm getting to the point where I need to stop, where I need to, you know, decrease, I guess, talking about the movie, my movie, and I think I should just, you know, in general, or just whatever it is, right? Because, you know, same here. The last thing I want to do is just be perceived as a spammer or just, you know, piss people off. Because I totally understand, man. I'm right there. You know, I get, you know, tons of emails almost every day with all kinds of stuff, and you go, delete, unsubscribe, delete, go away. I don't want to talk to you. You know, so it's yeah, I had actually an interesting experience a couple of weeks ago or so. You know, I use MailChimp for my newsletters, right? And when someone unsubscribes there, they get a choice of you know, the reason why they want to unsubscribe. And you know, people subscribe, unsubscribe, and you know, it's normal. And this was the first time that someone marked it as this is spam, right? So I'm like, oh man, why? It's like, you know, first I'm like, did I actually, like, am I? You start asking yourself, am I spam? What's going on? And then I trace it back, and I'm like, okay, so this is the email address. How did that person get to this? I'm like, no, okay, they signed up for it, okay. So, but I sent them an email, just, you know, I just wanted to make sure they know. So I'm like, hey, listen, first of all, I want to apologize if you know, think I was spamming you. This is how you ended up on the newsletter, blah blah blah, and just want to make sure, you know. And again, I'm sorry about the you know, the inconvenience and all that, and I truly mean it, you know. And it was really cool. He responded back to me and saying, oh, sorry man, no, I didn't mean it this way, and you know, we had this nice little exchange. So you know, that to me is number one, because you know, if you know, anybody can be a spammer, and it's so easy. And also, if there's any Canadians listening, my fellow Canucks here, starting July 1st this year, which is our Canada Day, our government will implement the most horrible anti-spam law on this planet. I went to this workshop just last month or so, and they're going to start charging individuals up in the millions if they are being perceived as, you know, being spammers. And that also includes if you, whether you do it purposely or just, you know, by accident, if you spam someone anywhere in the world. It's not just in Canada, which makes absolutely no sense, because there's about 1% of actual spammers originating in Canada. There's more, but they don't use servers in Canada. They're not that stupid, right? So, just a little tidbit out there, because when I heard that, I was like, oh boy. I mean, you know, as long as you do the right thing, and if you use services that have, you know, double opt-in and all that, and you know, don't add people to your list if they didn't consent to it, you should be fine. But just, you know, there was about 30 or 40 of us there, you know, business people, just people from everywhere, right? And we're all going, see what? How much? Are you serious? So I think our politicians in Ottawa, which is, you know, our capital, I think there's this room where there's no electricity, no internet access, nothing, and these people come up with these ideas that just make no sense to anyone. But you know, it's just an interesting thing.
That is interesting, you know, and right, we walk the fine line of, you know, are we spammers? But again, the process they put in place to protect us. I use MailChimp as well, and you know, if you're worried about like offending or like upsetting somebody, that's fine. You kind of want to, because you, in a sense, you need to weed out those who don't want to follow you, because you're trying to get to those 1,000 true fans. So you need to be yourself, and you need to, and as long as you know that everything that you put out is that it provides value of some sort, and when we say it's not spam, which is like, check me out, check this out, support my stuff, you know, when it's not about you, then everything that you put forth, which is trying to help your audience or your ideal audience, then you're going to be okay. And those who get it or don't get it, you know, that's fine, because you don't want people on your email list that aren't really big fans, because eventually if you get a big list, you're going to be paying for them, you know. So like, so you want to make sure that if you're going to start paying for people to be on your list, you want to make sure that they are indeed, you know, true fans. So I would advise, like, keep going, because the great thing about your stuff is, one, you have a great design sense. I love your web design and the designs of your emails, design of your graphics, and the way you set up your videos. You know, I looked at it like, you know, purposely on my end of things is like that. I try not to get too much into the production stuff, because I feel like there's a lot of how-tos out there of how to do production that do it better than I could ever do it. Like your stuff is better than I could do it, or like put something together. But I definitely feel like there's a need for marketing ideas and discussion about crowd building, you know, and I think that's the next frontier. So that's something you might think about too, is like sharing your experiences with, like, so I put this marketing campaign together, I sent it out, and this is the results, or the, you know, things that worked or what didn't work, you know. And I think we're at the stage of the independent film community that we're going to, I think, start beginning to see more and more of that kind of stuff. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see what Ted Hope puts together with Fandor at the end of the month, with that whole web series he's putting together, interviewing sort of the state of the union of, like, where independent film is. Now, to me, that sort of represents, like, independent film, people that have connections with, like, distribution companies that are struggling to stay viable. Those are, like, people that are used to working, you know, anywhere from $100,000 to a couple $1 million films and stuff like that. I'm hoping that this conversation with the Film Marketing Fridays with Film Trooper represents the really little guys that are just like, I got some film equipment and gear that I can shoot something with my friends, that if I sell it online, how do I market it, you know? I feel like there's a void for that, and so I'm hoping that that's what this dialogue and the future dialogues can address. So let's go and ask I think you got 2 more questions on your list?
I got one more.
Oh, one more. What's the last one?
So the last one is just, you know, what's a good way to approach just, you know, fellow bloggers, and you know, to start building a relationship with, you know, people who are, you know, in the industry, who, you know, who can promote your stuff and you can promote theirs. You know, just to build a healthy relationship, and, you know, these kinds of things.
Yeah. So let's see here. We'll go to the screen share again. Oh wait, here we go. Come on.
Oh, sorry, I forgot the soundtrack.
Zoop. Okay. So the big question is, the last question you have is all business, is like, how do you build relationships? And, you know, guest blogging, honestly, I think gives you a little bit of a bump in your traffic. I was surprised, you know, I've had some great success with some of the small blogs that I put together for other people's websites, and I saw some increase in my traffic. Mm-hmm. But I was listening to these online entrepreneurs, these business people, talk about it, and they also said that they only saw a small bump by doing guest blogging. Not to say it's bad. It's just great to get out there, to be in front of other people's audiences, and it's a really fun thing to be part of, to do some guest blogging. But I
guess you shouldn't rely just on that, right?
Yeah, it could be part of your strategy, but not like the main part. Again, that's going back to figuring out what 20% of the effort you do is going to give you 80% of the results. So it's like, if you spend a lot of your time guest blogging, but then you look at your metrics and you're only getting a small bump, then you may have to change your strategy. And the one thing that everybody says, it's actually interesting, is valuable content still rules. So if you can create something of really tremendous value to a very specific audience, then you'll see an uptick in terms of like your hits to your website or opt-ins to your email list or something like that. And yeah, so it comes down to that again. It's like I look at my metrics and I'm like, and I'm not killing it by any means. I'm still early to the game here, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the realities of like, oh, okay. So every time I do something like major, I have a good piece of content that I can then promote. I see the interaction. I see the uptick in traffic, website traffic. And then again, I think building a relationship. Imagine you're at a party, not a Hollywood party, like a regular, normal party, and you kind of just don't want to be lame, because you know how it is. It's like if you're at a party, you don't go up to somebody like, "Hey, check this out, check me out, check what I got out, check what I have, check me out, check you out." You're there to be a human being, and one thing you could do, they recommend, is like create a spreadsheet of like 200 to 500 influencers of the specific places where you want to be. Obviously, independent film and filmmakers and film blogs and stuff like that. You've got to create that so you create a spreadsheet where it's like the name of the site or the name of the magazine or publication or blog, and then you say who's the main person and if they got a Twitter handle, if they got an email address, all those types of things, and little notes, because then what you want to do is then it's a lot of work because you're at a party, but this is a massive online, global party, and you're going to comment on their work. So, like, if they're putting blog posts out, be that person that's involved with their commenting on their articles, because sometimes they'll come back to you and say, "Oh, thanks," or they give a question. As long as your comments are like if they're just something short, like "Great work," that's it, as opposed to "That was really great. I love how you talked about this. Here's a question." So if you can even ask questions in the comment section, you get the engagement that you want, and you want to do that for maybe like I'll throw it out there, like a month, that you're somewhat active, so they see who you are, and you can do that on Twitter by retweeting or commenting, Facebook if they have a Facebook group, just anything you can engage in the comment section. It's just so they know who you are, and as long as you're adding value to that community or adding thoughtful sort of conversation with them, then you're at that party, and you're not being lame. You're being engaging, and then the thing is, like, if you can help them solve a problem, they might have something where you see or you hear them talk about in a blog or a tweet that they wish, like, something, somebody can help them with, like, this marketing thing on their website or whatever it is. If you see that opportunity, you jump onto it. Like, hey, I may not have the answers, but did you ever see like this article by this other guy? Just something where you're a connector or you're somebody who's solving their problem.
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't done anything by promoting yourself or promoting your work. You have just built the relationship up so they know who you are, and you're cool. You're not lame at the party,
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the other things they teach, was a really great advice, again, from some of these online entrepreneurs, is like, if the people that you want to get to know, if they are teaching something, if they preach something or they evangelize something online, you apply what they teach, and then you come back to them and you share the results with them, and you tell them, like, hey, I've been following your blog, for a long time. Here's the things I love that you talked about, and I actually applied it to my film project or whatever it is, or my marketing efforts, and I did see these types of results, and I want to say thank you, or it's interesting. They need the feedback as much as we do. So as long as you're reaching out to them by saying, I've applied what you taught, and these are the results, and I'm going to share the results with you on what you taught. Yeah, and the bottom line is, it all comes down to one thing. Does your film provide value of anything, to the whole world, or whatever it is, or to your specific fan base? And I think that's the struggle for, I call these genre films. Again, if you're a documentary filmmaker, it's a little bit easier because you can pinpoint a very specific cause or a specific group of people, and then you provide value to them, because a lot of times documentaries expose or bring up they're like solutions or cause, or they bring up a point of view at the end of the movie there's like some sort of call to action to some extent. You know, some of the better documentaries, it just kind of gets you thinking. So you really, all of us have to stop and ask that question, to take ourselves out of the equation and say, does our film provide value, and what does it? What kind of value?
Hmm.
And then, and part of that value, it can't suck, you know. Like we might be on the right track of like doing a like helping a cause, like um, pets that need to be adopted, or like physical fitness, or showing this new documentary is coming out with Katie Couric called Fed Up, about the epidemic of obesity and rise of diabetes. You know, so I'm sure it probably won't suck. But if we were on the same page and we wanted to do something where our message has a lot of value, but our execution of the film was crappy, then we don't provide any value to anybody because it still sucked.
Yeah.
You know. And then value also equals transformation. So the thing that people love about movies, the reason why we're doing what we're doing, is because we've watched enough, or something happened to us when we were younger, where we were transformed, meaning that mentally something transformed us. So the experience of watching our movie has to have some sort of transformation for the audience, and so we have to really dig down deep and say, what kind of value do I offer, or what value does my film offer? Does it transform? And this really speaks true to like the genre films. If you're making a horror film, a comedy, or whatever, does it transform the audience and like take them through a journey where they feel like they didn't waste, like whatever, an hour and a half, 2 hours of their life wasn't sucked out of sucked from them. So what do we got here? Is that it? I think that might be it.
Do I need to make the swoosh noise?
I think the swoosh noise.
Swoosh noise.
Yeah. Let me go back to this. Get back to the beginning. Oh, this is kind of fun. Oh, here we go. Boom. There we go. So, yeah, we've hit about the hour mark because. Oh, here we go. I'm back. So we hit about the hour mark, and because I have completely screwed up the setup, the Hangout broadcast on air part. So I'm going to have to shoot everybody this proper link so they can catch up with what we saw. I really wanted to have an opportunity to enact the chat option with everybody, but I'll figure that out. This is the maiden voyage. We'll get it working. So the cool thing is, eventually I want to have one of these Hangouts set up where we have multiple filmmakers in the Hangout. So then we could have discussions so people can see like a question being asked, and then we could try our best to answer it with some real-world practical advice that's specific to whatever film project they have, and just keep it going to see if we can't, build up this community and try to help each other explore the marketing end of things.
That'll be awesome, man. And I just want to take a little minute here and say I really, appreciate everything you do, and keep going, man. It's guys like you and Jason Brubaker and who are really, I think, helping the next generation of filmmakers who are. I absolutely agree with you. It's no longer an issue of how to make a movie. I don't think, because the tools are there, the accessibility it's there, but absolutely, what do you do after you make it? That's the next frontier that we need to conquer. So I absolutely I want to thank you for doing all these things, and I know there's tons of people out there who feel the same way, and I think I think we are right now where the tech podcasting community was maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago. I'm a big fan of, I don't know if you watched the Twit Network, Leo Laporte, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm a big tech nerd, and this is I think they're a little ahead of us, but they're figuring things out too. But it's still this very fresh stage where there's not a lot of rules, but that's what's exciting, and that's why if we work together, we'll figure it out, man. We don't need we certainly don't need the structure of the of the old school filmmaking world, which obviously isn't going the way it should. So yeah, I guess that's what I kind of felt like saying.
Well, hey, thank you. And to reiterate what you just said, it's true. Film production is no longer a barrier
Hmm.
because we can make films for nothing. Both of us have, proven that, and we're not the only ones. I mean, there's been done years before us, but as a large scale of artists being able to have the tools in front of them to make something so inexpensively is crazy. And
Hmm.
then just this past year, really, film distribution is no longer a barrier. When all these different platforms start showing up where you can just literally just throw your film up online and start selling it to an audience directly without any middleman involved. Because I was already floored that there was even that anybody can just pay an aggregator. Like you wouldn't, there was just no need for a distribution company, um, per se, to get your movie onto a platform where people can access it around the world and pay for it to see your stuff. It was really just it happened less than a year over the course of the last year.
Yeah,
So all
Vimeo
this
on
stuff is
Demand.
brand new.
Yeah, Vimeo on Demand and VHX both they just celebrated their 1 year anniversary in the last few months, I think. I got an email from both of them, one of those
Yeah,
blog posts, and I was like, wow, you're right. It's in 1 year. I remember when I was looking into, so I shot my movie in 2012, and then I did the whole festival thing, and then in 2013, I think it was early 2013, I started to look into um, things like distributor, for example, and all that, and see how the hell am I going to get this movie out. And then I discovered Vimeo on demand, and then later on VHX, and I was like, it can't be that easy. Literally, my response was, it cannot be this easy. There has to be something. What do you want from me? Do you want my blood? You want something? I know, but nope. It was that easy, and that is just, it's a heaven. It reminds me of the day when I bought my first. I'm sure you had a similar experience when I bought my first camcorder. And I started shooting, and then you start editing and all that, and you go, wow. I mean, sure, it wasn't the greatest quality back then, but I was like, I can do this on the fly. You know what I mean? So it's absolutely, I agree. It's amazing how much has changed in just 1 year.
yeah, and so we have those things now. It's like production, distribution, not a barrier. And as like I said, Jason Brubaker was saying that our new business is audience, or building your audience, or maintaining your audience. And as I like to call it, you're serving your audience. You are no longer thinking about yourself. You are a servant to your audience, whoever that fan base might be. So really, the last barrier for all of us as artists that we've seen happen with independent authors, because anybody can write an ebook and sell it on Amazon, but those who can reach a larger audience still need marketing. Um, musicians can record amazing sounding albums and songs from their laptop in their living room, and then sell it directly through SoundCloud or whatever it is, or they can even upload it to iTunes. So filmmakers, because of for so long it's been so expensive and it's very collaborative. There is, I think, a rise of filmmakers who can just kind of do it on their own for very cheap, but they still need the marketing part of it, and so this is what all this stuff is designed to do.
Hmm.
But I think, yeah, I think the bottom line is, again, is just we've got to serve our audience, but we got to find that audience. And for you, hopefully that checklist, will help, and I'll send that out to you so you can at least have a form of it. But let's wrap this up real quick. Before I do, hey, it's time to plug away. Why don't you share us what you got going and where people can find more about you and your movie?
Sure. Yeah. So if you go to livinglifeorwaitingtodie.com, it's right down here somewhere. That's my movie. So you can check out the trailer. There's a few videos on there, and you can also watch 8 minutes of it for free if you sign up for my newsletter. So check it out, and would love to get your feedback. There's a bunch of options. You can rent it, you can purchase it. I have also a special edition where I have audio commentary where I talk about all the things I did wrong. So yeah, check it out, and also check out my blog filmmakingtoday.com. That's where pretty much where I post all my blogs and how tos and pretty much anything that I'm doing in terms of production and those kinds of things. And just add me on pretty much all the main social medias. Just type in my name. I know it's not the easiest name, Bojan Dulabic. And yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus, absolutely. Would love to connect and Oh, and also I just recently finished a 14-page manual book, whatever you want to call it, which I'm giving away as well if you sign up for my newsletter, and it's all about how to make a movie in your own living room. So all the things that I used, the techniques and tricks to make a movie for $4,000, mostly set in my own living room, which is when you open that door, right in there, right in there. So yeah, check it out. And like I said, if you got any comments, always feel free to message me. I'm pretty good at getting back, you know, within 48 hours, I guess, or sooner. So yeah, and again, thanks to you, Scott. Sorry, I was thinking Jason. I know way too many Jasons. So yeah, really thank you for doing all this, and I really appreciate it. And it's really great getting to know you, and and again, if it wasn't for Google Plus, social media, we would have never met, because I think we met on Sherry Candler. Sorry,
Yeah,
if I pronounce it
that's
on
right.
her. On her marketing community, right?
Yeah, so we met at Sherry Candler's internet no, independent marketing community,
Yeah.
and it was just because you were asking questions, and I think I was one of maybe three people that were answering.
Yeah.
So again, that was a situation. We're at a party, we're at this community and it was a party, and we weren't selling anything. You were just asking a question, and of the 1,000+ members she had, there was only a handful of people that chimed in to just be like, not being lame, not being lame, and seemed like I wasn't being lame of like, hey, check this out or check my stuff out. It was being human. You were asking a question. I think I could help or put my point of view into it, or direct you someplace, and that's how we connected. And just over time, as you launched your film and I was launching my film, it was just one of those things that we had shared interests, and yeah, it was really cool. So I'll make sure to put the links to all your stuff at the bottom of sort of the YouTube channel. Once this gets
Sure.
posted live to YouTube. And for me, what I do is I give away a free equipment list of like all the gear that I use to make my feature film with no crew, and you can get that at freegearguide.com, and I'll put that into the links below the YouTube channel.
And
And as well as
sorry,
oh, go ahead.
on that note, I just want to say it is an awesome guide. I've read it, and believe me, it is detailed, man. I was like, holy, that is very detailed. So anyone who's starting off in film, or if you're sort of on the level where you want to take it to the next level, read that thing. I'm serious. Sorry.
No, thanks. Well, it's funny. All it really is just an equipment list, like, but it tells you about what each equipment, what you do with it. And I know that people love that kind of stuff because, we all love the issues when the gear guide come out. In fact, I just got like B&H Video and Photos catalog they send out ever like fall or spring or something. And all it is this big book that just contains of like all the gear, and you salivate over it, like, oh, this is awesome. So, so you can get that my version of what I use at freegearguide.com, as well as I'm going to put another link to how to sell and distribute your movie. It's a program that Jason Brubaker put together that you and I both paid for and have applied to the selling of our films online. So it's worth checking out, and I'll leave that link down on the YouTube channel. But other than that, hey, we got through our maiden voyage. It's going to be a lot better moving forward. We'll get the sound effects, music, and I'll actually figure out how to properly set up a live event with Hangouts on the air. Anyhow, we made it through. I don't know how many people actually saw this or will see this, but but once it's finished, we'll have a link and we can share with other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. And again, going back to what we just talked about, look how sure we had some minor technical glitches, but man, we just broadcasted to the whole world from our homes, from our computers. I mean, I could have done it from my phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That is power, and that is amazing. Yay!
Awesome. Well, why don't you sign off and say goodbye to everybody, or and then we'll close out.
All right, guys. So again, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, if you got any questions, just let me know, and take care.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Bojan. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Right.
Bojan.
I actually have a hard time with the English language. My mom's from Thailand, and I grew up making fun of her my entire life because she has broken English, and so karma's come back, and I can't even speak English anymore.
I hear that English is my third language. Third, dude. There's way too many languages up here. It's just nuts.
That was so funny. All right, well, I'll leave it with the screenshot, and we'll close out. Thanks, everybody, and yeah, we'll do it again next week, and we'll get even better and better each week.